Hey y'all, it's Peggy Pratt. Welcome to episode number 8 of Sin Permiso, a Latina Lifestyle Podcast. And today I have with me James Khoury, branch manager of New Fed Mortgage, or should I say Khoury?
Khoury.
All right, this is our first non-Latino. Welcome.
Hola, Peggy. Do you want me to speak Espanol or English?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure you're tired of speaking Espanol all day at your job.
Sí, todos los días.
Todos los días. All right. Well, we're talking about our money mindset series, James here. And, it's something near and dear to my heart. We've had some guests through talking about, their money mindset growing up as Latinos, and in your case, growing up with Latinos, as a Lebanese kid. What were the differences? Like, first of all, I think I just want to know a little bit about how you grew up and where you grew up.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I am excited to be here today. So let's see, I grew up in Lawrence, Massachusetts.
The home of Nicky Jam.
The home of Nicky Jam. He was my neighbor back in the day. Just kidding. But the home of Nicky Jam. I grew up on Prospect Hill. It's an area of Lawrence. It's North Lawrence. It's near one of the water towers. My parents are both off the boat from Lebanon, so I'm 100% Lebanese.
Ooh.
I went to Lawrence Public Schools all the way until high school. Then I went to Central Catholic right after that, but all the way. So my entire growing up was, I used to joke around and say, like, I was like, people would call me white, right? Because if you look at me to the eye,
Yep.
you think I'm my Hispanic friends will say, gringo,
Uh-huh.
right? But obviously, when you know me, I'm Lebanese, I'm fluent in Arabic, etc. So they would always be like, oh, look, the white kid. Very few of us in Lawrence. So I would always joke around and say that it's like flipped. Like I look around and be like, oh shit, but it wasn't. To me, the culture is very similar. We're very family oriented. My parents worked. My mom got here in 1972 on a Saturday, and she went to school on Monday.
Wow.
Like nonstop. Graduated high school in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, and she translated from English. She learned English from translating from English to French to Arabic because she spoke French. In Lebanon, they teach you French.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how she learned it. So my mindset has always been go, learn, educate. So growing up, very similar to all my Dominican and Puerto Rican friends, because as you know, Lawtown is the home of my Dominicanos.
Yeah. So those similarities, you found similarities growing up with them because, your parents were off the boat too. And your mother, came was a huge, from what I'm seeing, was a huge impact on you because you saw she was motivated. She knew what she came for. She wasn't wasting time. She knew what to do. The matriarch, I find, that, is really important in a lot of our cultures.
Absolutely.
So when you were growing up, right, you grew up with Latinos, and did you found obviously that you must have gravitated more to the Latinos that had that similar mindset, such as yourself?
Absolutely. You want to know what's funny? I went to high school in private school, and I still hung out with Latinos. So I felt that was my comfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
My comfort, that's what I was comfortable with. They say you hang out with people similar to you. So I always felt culturally we're very similar. Work ethic, we're very similar. So to me, growing up, I always saw my parents work very, very hard. They were both entrepreneurs. My mom started working in Raytheon, then opened her own business as an electrologist. My dad has been on his own since he was 12 and was a tailor. And I've always had that mindset, work. I've been working since 14. So I started working at my last week of 8th grade.
There is no coincidence here that 7 including myself, of the people that I've interviewed so far, all have that same age, 14. That's when we all start working.
Funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's when you can get a work permit in this
Like
country.
I still had braces and I was getting them off at the end of the week. I still hadn't graduated 8th grade. It was the funniest thing. I wanted to work. I wanted to save money for a car.
So you grew up, with that mindset, the money mindset. Did your parents talk about money at home, and how was money viewed?
Good question. So it's funny, they did. And I like that. You know why? Because you understand what's going on. I think sometimes as kids, like I'll tell you, growing up, because I had a 2-parent household. It's different. A lot of people that I went to school with didn't. They were single parents. I felt like I was rich until I went to high school and realized we were poor. But because I went to a private high school. But I didn't know any better. To me, I had everything I needed. Like I didn't notice anything that I didn't have. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like you don't have to have everything if you have that support and love and foundation. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, we see a lot of movies like that where you know the parents make the child think that you know everything's all right even when it's not all right. That's part of our jobs, and it's clear that in your growing up, you know, they were huge in that mindset, and you did grow up with our Latino counterparts, and it's pretty cool the way you interact and the way you say there's similarities. Did you have any fear? Let's talk about you know your business life. You know you grow up, you're trying to figure out your you know out there your world. Are you going to be an entrepreneur? What are you going to do? What are some of the setbacks or fears that you might have had or encountered?
So, in general, right, I never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. I thought I'd have a corporate job. I thought I was going to be on radio. That was what my passion was. I went to be a sports broadcaster.
Well, you're on radio today.
I am on this amazing podcast. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you.
And I went to law school after. I was like, I was an executive producer when I was 19 of a Boston morning radio show. And then I said, nah, I don't want to do this. I graduated college, and I'm like, I think I'm done. And I went to law school. So I thought I was going to work in corporate America.
See, I didn't know that about you, James.
Yeah, you know, I got to save some nuggets, you know. So I thought I was going to be like a sports agent, right? Because that's a cool thing. 2 years of it, I hated it. And then I fell into the mortgage world. I had a relative that owned a mortgage company. Come on over, try it. I didn't know what a mortgage was. I didn't know what a HUD was, which is now a CD. I didn't know any of that. But I liked it. I liked the sales aspect. And then as time went on, I started to envision myself doing that and running a team or a business or something to that. And that's how I got into short sales, because the market changed.
That's right.
And then I opened up my own, because I kept saying to my cousin who owned it, listen, we can make money. If you don't want to do this, I'm going to do this. And she said, you have my blessing. And I literally started that day. I went on, I got the corporation registered with the state, and the rest is history.
It's all about pivoting, right? Knowing when you see things coming, pivoting and knowing what's next. And part of being an entrepreneur is knowing that and going with your gut and not being afraid.
No, and it was like one time early on, right? Because you know this, you're an entrepreneur, and I don't come from money, and you didn't either. So when you're in that position, you can see the light, right? Like, you know, to get to a next level, you may need a little bit of money, right? So I remember going to ask my parents. I said, I need $5,000. And my mom said, absolutely. There was a different point in their life where they had a little bit of savings, not much. And my mom said, you've never asked for anything. Here you go. So they wrote me a check, and I said, I will have this to you in 30 days. And my mom and dad was like, here you go. 20 days later, whatever, I paid them back. I actually made money. And my mom still says, I never thought I was going to see it. You never asked for money. We do a lot for your brother. We do this, etc. We figured this is what, let him try it. We never thought we'd see it again. And we were okay with it.
And you proved that.
And that was what I needed to get me over the hump.
That's it. You proved that you could do it.
Yeah.
You proved that you could do it. And you're in a place in your life now, James, where you've worked really hard for a really long time. And, when you've made those purchases, you own a beautiful home. You recently, you're balling. You bought this fabulous car. Let's talk a little bit about the bling bling on your wrist, James.
Listen, the only nice things I have, right? I don't wear... I do wear design suits.
See, why do we have to, make up excuses or feel bad because we finally, started from the bottom, now we're here and we can have these
So
things.
I bought this expensive watch. I had an expensive watch. The only purchase I ever made back in the day when I started making a little bit of money was a nice watch. I never wore it because there's a story behind it. I had another watch and I actually got robbed. Yeah, at gunpoint for my watch.
Wow.
So I never wore the other nice watch I had for... That was in 2011 until this year, so we're talking 11 years. But I said to myself, I really want a nice watch. I traded the other one in because watch values are like houses, right? Mm-hmm. They're expensive.
Yep.
And then I bought this one.
So this is an investment, right? This is what we say to ourselves when we buy these nice things. Not only do we deserve it, do we work hard, but it's an investment.
I felt guilty. I'm not gonna lie. I thought about it one day and I was sad because I think about what the value is, right? Not what I paid for it, but what the value. That's what my parents would have made in a year. Back then, we're talking about
we're talking about back then.
So it's that guilt. You know what I'm talking about.
I know. I mean, sometimes I call it the Catholic conscience, the Catholic guilt, because we think, how many people could I have helped with this?
100%.
That's what we think.
Like that too.
Yeah.
On everything.
Yep.
On everything. That's funny. That's my mindset. On everything like that.
That's it.
Finance.
And that's part of our money mindset. There's the good and then there's the bad. And some of that is what fuels us and what actually grounds us, right? And brings us back when we start getting carried away.
But you know what's funny? Is when I did buy the car, right? Mm-hmm. And the watch you just mentioned, my parents said, you deserve it and you work hard. don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad
And
about it.
those
This is why we
words,
worked hard our
yes.
whole life so that you can get to a point that you can do what you want and not have to worry.
So you felt validated when they
I did. It sometimes you need like that parent like love. You know what I mean? That extra support. I just felt like, you know what? They think they don't find an issue with it. Not that it was an issue, but you know that guilt, like, oh, I could have done a lot more.
Yep. But no, you do deserve it, and it's part of it. You know that we have to take it all in. This is part of life, and why we do what we do. And then I'm sure, and then there's the times where you definitely do. I'm sure you help. I mean, a lot. Hey, we're gonna be building beds.
Of
on
course,
Saturday
yeah, I can't wait
for children that don't have beds. So fast forward, right? You're in the mortgage business. You're dealing with the Latino community every day, day in and day out.
65% of my business is in the Latino
And
community.
I know we've shared some hilarious stories about money and legitimately people. What was that guy showed up with a bag of money to
a bag of money to a closing? Cash. And everyone looked at him. And this was, you could do that. Now you can't because of oh God, I can't even think of it. No, there's like the rule for money laundering. So
that just came out a couple years ago. Because there was actually some money laundering.
Yeah, there was. So people used to bring in cash, and there was one where literally cash. When I say cash, like 30 G's worth of cash. So watching an attorney count, that's hilarious.
So dealing with Latinos day in and day out, what would you say if there was something you could change about their mindset, right? If there's something, what do you think are the biggest hurdles, or what would be the biggest change that think is necessary in this Latino mindset?
That's a great question. One is use banks. I feel like they're old school, maybe back from where they're from, especially immigrants. Maybe
they don't trust the
banks because the banks closed.
Same
thing happened in Lebanon. So the exact same thing happened in Lebanon where banks went under. So a lot of people don't trust. So it's cash. So to me, trust the banks. They're insured up to $250 per person, so $250,000. So it's important to use them. And then two, I think they need to learn more on budgeting. And I think in general, most people do, but budgeting is so important because I think sometimes when you physically see, like I write everything down. So I know what's going in and out. You have to do that. And I feel like that education portion of that will help them. And credit. Credit's a big thing. When I say credit is not that they have bad credit. They may not have credit because again, it goes back to the bank. They don't trust certain things. So the utilization of that, and I love seeing the younger generation, the Gen Zs, they're
figuring it out.
Oh,
they want to be homeowners. They know that's the first thing. That's the problem I think that with maybe our generation is they came from not having anything. So the minute that they had some money, they were able to buy a car or something nice.
Because come on, you grew up in Roxbury. I grew up in Lawrence. What the first thing you do when you have money is you buy a nice car, you buy bling bling.
Exactly.
That's and it's sad to think that
it's
because
true.
That's validating your success, which you and I both know at this point in our life, it's not.
No, it's just being ghetto fabulous. People don't like the word, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. It's an urban term.
It's an urban term, but it's correct. Like you're flexing to your friends, like, oh, I made it, but that you and I know that's irrelevant. Anybody could buy a nice car. You could lease a nice car for $600.
Exactly.
But that doesn't make you better. That doesn't mean you're a success. What makes success is how you treat people, how you make them feel, what you give back to the community. Like that's successful to me.
But I'm excited that you see it in the Gen Zs, the new generation.
I love it.
What do you feel? What do you see in them as far different from the mindset of when we were around?
They are tech savvy. They ask questions. They look things up, so they're more assertive. They love to figure out. Well, I read this. They're readers. They're not like us. We're like, okay, yeah. Oh, you went to this person. We'll go. They look at your reviews. They look everything up, but they're so much more diligent in everything. And I love it because it's like that generation. That's kind of like how we would have been if we were now, right? Because they're essentially like their parents were like our parents, but they're just more advanced with technology and everything else. And I love seeing that because a lot of them come ready. They know they need a certain amount of down payment. They know how long they've been at their job, and I love seeing it. It makes me happy and proud.
So you're seeing the evolution of the Latino since you started and you growing up to now today. And what's exciting, you also grew up with a lot of Latinos that are now entrepreneurs, and it's kind of cool to celebrate their, what they're doing in life, right?
So it's funny, coming here, I just ran into somebody and I said to her, who's Latina, and I said to her, our table was very successful, our lunch table in high school. Very successful.
Was it based on the conversations that were being had during lunch, or
No, just what we ended up. Like, we've all, relatively successful. It's kind of funny.
do you think that it was each one of you guys seeing that the other one was, maybe motivated, self-motivated, and it rubbed off?
I think at some point down the road, we probably saw each other and we're like, oh, they're doing that. Oh, that's great. I'm happy for them. But it's not like the hate, right? Like, where you're hating on them. Oh, their success.
Yeah, we get that.
No, it's uplifting them.
That's uplifting.
Yeah.
That's what I find it's about, that's a whole nother podcast series about that, hating on each other and the jealousy, and instead of, just uplifting and celebrating each other. Those are also things, though, that I'm also seeing changing with these new generations.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, ours are different. They don't, I feel like you're good friends. They're happy when you succeed. Like, I always joke with you, right? What do I joke with you when we go to dinner with me and our
You
our
rich.
friends? I love going out to dinner with you two because I'm the brokest person here, and it makes me happy that you're both rich. Richer than me. I love it. Like, I say that to you, but I mean that. Like, that makes me happy.
To be wholeheartedly happy for someone else, and knowing that, you know what, we're gonna all pull along for the ride.
Someone else's success doesn't take away from what you've achieved in life.
Of course not.
But we get that.
We get that. You know what? I want to say that this, James, you're another great example of starting from the bottom. Now we're here with hard work, with perseverance, and you know what? With a good attitude and a great personality.
A chip on my shoulder. I'm going to share this with you. And anyone out there listening, don't ever let anyone tell you can't do something. What motivates me is when I was 25 and first got into business, a loan officer who was very successful, I was at like a gathering at a sports bar. We were watching the Patriots game. I turned to him and introduced myself, and he said, oh, how many deals have you closed? And I just closed my first one. And anyone in real estate knows when you close your first deal, it's hard.
It's
and
always
you're
hard.
so exciting. And I was excited. And he turned around. I was like, oh, well, this isn't for everybody. And turned around. And I was, I turned around. Sí, un cabrón. I turned around and I literally said, hey, can we cuss on this or no?
Yes.
Okay. I literally turned around and said, hey, I don't know who the fuck you think you're talking to, but remember my face and remember my name. I'm going to be successful one day, and I'm going to take business away from you because people are going to rather work with me than you.
Have you done so?
Oh, yeah, he's out of the business.
Ooh.
But that's what motivates me. So on those days where I feel a bit like being lazy, I remember
You remember that moment?
I remember that feeling. And by the way, I would never want to give that to somebody else. I want to uplift them.
Be careful what you say, guys. Be careful who you say it to, because you just never know. James Khoury, thank you for being on the podcast. Sin Permiso, a Latina lifestyle podcast, and you bring in your Lebanese Latino thought process and experience here and everything. You're
appreciate
awesome.
you, Peggy. Thank you so much for having me. Everybody, stay positive. You can do anything you want in life. Remember that.
Motivados.